When you see this, you know we're talking about the biggest chokers in NFL history, the Atlanta Falcons. But I don't want to stop there. I also want to talk about the second biggest chokers in NFL history, the Minnesota Vikings. You see, these two teams have ridden Eagle fans all off season. Now, I never had a problem with either of these two fan bases until this past season when they couldn't accept that we won the Super Bowl. You see, in the past, people called us losers because we never won. Now, we win a Super Bowl and we're too cocky. But the truth is, you can only call us one thing, and that is champions. That's right, champions. And when they hear that word, they freak out. They don't like it because they think it was theirs. They think it was theirs. And then I understand why they're chokers. Because they're entitled. They think that they are owed a Super Bowl. Atlanta Falcons lose Super Bowl 51. They choke it away. They think it's destiny for them to go back and repeat. We beat them. They can't accept it. Then you get the Minnesota Viking fans who had Stephon Diggs with an amazing last-second play. They're celebrating. They think they're going to walk into Philly and just be given the game. They think they're owed it. But they don't realize that we, Eagle fans, were celebrating at the same time because we knew Minnesota was an easier opponent than the New Orleans Saints. And I don't say that because I'm saying we couldn't beat New Orleans. It would have been a great game. It would have been a much tougher game. And don't forget, we won a Super Bowl. We beat Tom Brady and the Patriots. We didn't beat no scrubs. Here's the truth of the matter, okay? The reason why Minnesota Vikings didn't win, the reason why the Atlanta Falcons didn't win against us last year is one thing. Your team stinks! Kick the red, double move on the red. Yo everybody, how you doing? King Ding back here. So a lot of people ask me all the time, what fan bases do I respect the most in the NFL? And I tell them, I respect the fan bases that team doesn't win all the time, yet their fans are loyal, they're there, they're not getting blackouts every week, they're out there supporting their team, and they love their team no matter what. Those are the fan bases I love. Now, every fan base has groups of real loyal fans, they all do. But as a whole, to have as many as like the Philadelphia Eagles fan base, that's an amazing thing. The Eagles have gone through a lot of losing, and yet as a fan base, as a whole, we always go out, we always support them, we've always been with them through thick and thin. I remember the end of the Vermeil years. I remember him crying on ESPN when he was retiring. I remember Marion Campbell, Buddy Ryan, Rich Cote. I remember it all. I remember all the struggles that we have gone through. And when we won a Super Bowl this year, it was a big deal. It was all those years of suffering wiped away, cleaned. It was freedom. And then when we win and we're enjoying it, we're told we're too cocky. We're cocky because we're champions. We win and we're cocky. Okay, it doesn't make any sense. When a team wins a Super Bowl, they get bragging rights for the year that they're champion. When somebody beats them, then their bragging rights are done, are over. The Eagle fans have bragging rights right now because they won a Super Bowl. If the Dallas Cowboys won the Super Bowl and they came to me, I would give them the proper respect. I would give them the respect of being champions. Eagle fans are champions, and we should be afforded the same bragging rights as any other fan base that has won a Super Bowl and have talked whatever they have talked. We are not cocky because we are the champions. You're not cocky when you're being honest, and we're honestly the best team in the NFL because we're the champs. You want to be the champs, you got to beat the champs. So beat them. Now, I was listening to this little back and forth between DavidInAtlanta and Bitter Birds. Shout out to both those guys. I love Adrian from Bitter Birds. Shout out to him. Shout out to DavidInAtlanta. I love him too. He's great. I can't disrespect him for how he loves his team. I respect it. But he did say in his last video that we are cocky. Now, he's not the only one. This has been said all year, primarily from three team fan bases. The Cowboys, which are going to say it anyway, so who cares? Then Minnesota, who we beat, and the Atlanta Falcons, who we beat. So these fan bases think we're cocky, but the truth is they're just jealous. They're just jealous of us because we won and they didn't, and they felt entitled to it. I watched his videos and I gotta tell you, I love this guy. He's crazy. He's a dingbat. But listen, he starts talking about how Eagle fan base is cocky and we're arrogant. Then he goes on to say, but you're going to go 0-1. We're going to beat you. And he starts naming players like somehow that makes a big difference. Like, I can respond to all the players that he named, right? Because like 80% of these guys, 90% of these guys were in the game that they lost. He's like, Tevin Coleman stinks. Matt Ryan, choker. Devontae, I only had 7 yards in the playoff game. Freeman stinks. Then he got, what? Calvin, nobody wants me in the draft. Ridley stinks. Austin Pooper stinks. They all stink. That's why we beat them. That's why we'll beat them again. The truth of the matter is, we are the champs. And as long as we're the champions, we can say whatever we want. That's it. We can say we're the champs. That's not cocky. That's the truth. There's a difference between cocky and the truth. And the Eagles are the truth. But you make sure you go sub up my man Adrian. I love Adrian. Sub him up from the Bitter Birds. Sub up David in Atlanta. Sub him up because it's going to be fun when he loses to watch him eat a lot of crow. Like I always say, to be the champs, you got to beat the champs. And the season will be here soon enough, and we'll see what the Falcons do. Now, for me personally, I hope every fan base gets to experience a Super Bowl title someday. I think every fan base should. It's a great thing. It's a remarkable thing. But you can't get mad at the Eagle fans or say we're cocky because we beat your team. Your team isn't just entitled to it. You got to go earn it. And you know what? All the years we didn't win a Super Bowl, we got close and we didn't win. The truth of the matter is we didn't win because we weren't good enough. You didn't win because you're not good enough yet. So that's it. Now, I had to get this out of my system. I'm sorry for the long rant, but this has been building up for months. So I finally got this out. I'm good. Now I want to focus on practice a little bit because it was a real sloppy practice today. Doug said that this often happens early in training camp when you have players have a physical live contact practice the day before. They tend to come and it tends to be a little sloppy. So that's kind of why the Eagles went with a light practice, a no padded practice. And the media, they were a little bit surprised that Carson wasn't taking part in 11-on-11 drills. I think they were trying to ask if they should be concerned somehow. But Doug said, look, this is the plan that we have put out for him. He's following. We're sticking to the script as it goes. And that's it. And he wasn't supposed to get a heavy load today, and he'll get it when he's supposed to. I'm not worried about Carson at all. I don't think Doug is at all. I trust that they know what they're doing. So Carson kind of, again, he did 7-on-7 drills. He was okay. And then Foles got the boatload of the work. Now, most of the work on 11-on-11 was in the red zone. They worked on the red zone today. And like I said, it was sloppy. It was sloppy across the board. A few guys that stood out. Rasul Douglas, he made a couple, I think he had an interception. I think he has 3 or 4 this training camp. And he looks pretty good. Dallas Goedert continues to impress. Every practice, this guy's name is mentioned. I think he's going to be very valuable in that red zone, and that's where they were working today. So of course he was going to stand out in practice because they're going to use him in the red zone a lot. The other guy that Doug was talking about, and it was pretty cool to hear, was Jay Ajayi. He was talking about how Jay Ajayi has taken on this whole offense. Last year they only gave him so much because he came late. This year he can do it all. He could be a 3-down back, and that he's been working on his route running and his catching. He did have a bad drop today, I will say that. But overall, his catching and his route running have gotten a lot better this year. So expect to see him more in the passing game than we've seen him a year ago. So to be quite honest with you, today was a subpar performance for the Eagle players at practice. They were just a little bit off, a little bit sloppy, and this happens after a physical practice the day before. This is what Doug Peterson said. Tomorrow, they will be hitting again. It will be a very physical practice, and we'll see if they pick it up. Now, there are a few side notes at training camp I want to talk to you about real quick. One, the Eagles were playing with a lot of 3 safety formations. They were getting Malcolm Jenkins, Rodney McLeod, and Trey Sullivan, putting them out there, and then pulling Ronald Darby out and putting Rasul Douglas on the outside. And they did this for a while. They were playing with something. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see down the road if they actually use something like this and what they're trying to do. The other interesting note that I'm going to mention, because 2 different beat reporters mentioned this today, and I think it's interesting. Drew Rosenhaus was at practice today, and when people saw him, he was in deep discussions with the Eagles front office about something they were discussing. There was a lot of speculation what it could be. I would guess maybe he's talking contracts about one of the players that he, that is his guys. Jay Ajayi, his agent is Drew Rosenhaus. Is it possible that they're talking about him, a contract extension for him, what he would want, that kind of thing? Not a big deal, but it's just funny that guys had to note this and make sure that people know that Drew Rosenhaus was talking to the Eagles front office. But who knows what it could be. I don't know what guys on the team are his, so who knows. But that's pretty much it at Eagles camp. Now, one other thing I want to talk about. Jordan Matthews has been cut by the Patriots, and I've already had 5 people ask me if I think Jordan Matthews will come back to the Eagles. And my answer is no. I don't think he fits here. I don't think the Eagles would want him. And he's hurt again. He hurt his hamstring. It's pretty serious. Patriots cut him. I like Jordan Matthews as a person. I wish him nothing but the best. But I don't think he should be back with the Eagles at all. I think Aguilar is our guy, and that's the way it is. So with that said, I will be back tomorrow after the practice, and we'll talk some more. So everybody take care. Talk to you later. And don't be a dingbat.